Let's get it started here, boys. How's everyone doing today?
Doing well.
Good. You look like you're doing great. You're also confirmed prior to we were recording are weighing at 149 pounds. Is that what you said?
152.
152. So you're a burrito. You're a burrito away from 149 pounds.
After my burrito today, probably 153.
Well, I got weighed today, which what spurred the talk. So, and I'm hitting my goals, dude. You know.
You're no unit.
No, I'm not a unit. I'm not over 6 feet, and I'm not 200 pounds. Unfortunately, I mean, I was close to 200 pounds, but my frame just can't handle it, dude.
You know what I love? When I tell people that I'm 5'11", which I actually am, I'm legit 5'11". They're like, "Oh my god," you know, like shocked that I'm only 5'11". Like
So close to 6 feet.
like the reason you think it's crazy that I'm 6'2" is because you've been lied to by a bunch of 5'7" people.
Yeah.
That are saying they're 5'11" or 6 feet.
That's true.
And also, most 5'11" men won't have the guts to admit that they're 5'11". They'll just say, "I'm 6 feet."
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, like
Yeah, your
Eric.
license says
My
you're
license
6
says
foot.
6 feet. But I am 5'11" and a half.
And my LinkedIn says I'm proficient in Excel.
It's the same. It's kind of like the same thing.
What did you do to lose weight? Because you were heavier than that this winter.
At the end of March, like last week of March, I weighed 199.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't change up my exercise regimens at all. I mean, added a little cardio because the weather got nicer.
Yeah.
But not like heavy cardio by any means. I just changed my diet.
12 pounds is a lot to lose. And
I know. So I cut out. So
Yeah, 4 pounds a week.
and I'm craving it
Oh,
bad.
you're losing almost a pound a day.
Yeah.
So I cut out cappuccinos because George was like, "Dude, you got to stop drinking cappuccinos." I was like, "Dude, fuck you." And then I started looking into it. I'm like, "Fuck, I got to stop drinking cappuccinos." So I cut out cappuccinos. I cut out pasta, which is like obviously my favorite thing in the whole wide world. So I cut out pasta
cut it out completely.
What? And then I cut out all like wine, because I drink wine when I eat pasta. So wine wasn't really difficult to cut out after I cut out pasta.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a beer since Killington.
What?
Yeah. Which that's the only thing, and pasta is like my favorite thing in the whole world. Like I
So
love it.
basically, he's going to be putting the weight back on whenever.
Yeah, pretty
the
shortly
stick's
here.
done.
Yeah,
The first 70-degree day in Boston.
pretty much. So I will say I'm craving a beer pretty bad.
So what are you going to do for Cinco de Mayo?
Margaritas.
Yeah, those are much less calorie dense. You're right.
It's not about the calorie. It's about the way beer it makes me feel. Like I feel slow.
Like 199.
I feel it makes me feel like crap, especially.
Makes you look like shit. Too.
Thank you. And so, which is why I decided to cut it out.
Yeah.
But again, like with all the travel we did this year as a group, and then like all the ski testing, and then of course like when we're like at said ski test or at the company thing at Killington, like it's just
Après is part of it.
I drank a lot of beer.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad about it. It was a lot of fun, but I was like, I gotta like pump the brakes a little bit. I need to take a little break of the domestics.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're not slamming on the brakes, just pumping them a little bit.
Pumping them right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
No ABS.
I'm not locking them up, dude. Fuck that.
Yeah.
You're also doing like double doses of hydroxycut. Aren't you?
And slim fast.
No, just creatine. Mark McGuire style.
No, dude, that was androstenedione Dion.
No, I'm not doing creatine, but
You should be. You should
but
be doing.
Donzie's trying to get me to
You should be at least 5 grams a day, dude.
he's been trying to get me to take creatine for a while, and I'm like, nah, dude, I'm not gonna do
There's nothing to be nervous about.
Well, I could blow up like a balloon.
No.
Yeah, you could look like the fucking whale.
Oh.
So to answer your question, that's
Shrek
it.
Gurman.
Yeah.
Same workout regimen, and I just cut that stuff out.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't. My body doesn't like that at all. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's my favorite stuff to put into my body. Clearly, my body's like not metabolizing it at all because
Yeah.
I lost 12 pounds in like a month and a half.
You lost a lot of smiles too.
Yeah, even
less weight, less smiles.
I think that's the other piece of it. Like you're not even talking about the increase in cardio because of how many more muscles it takes to frown
Yeah.
than smile.
Yeah.
Boom.
So
I guess you guys are right.
yeah,
I've been frowning a lot more.
I haven't
increasing
eaten
my
any
cardio
pasta.
out.
Yeah.
My mental health is gone.
Who would have known that pasta was a direct connection to my mental health?
Yeah, weight's
All the
down,
Italians.
smiles are down, mental health is down.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel good though. My clothes fit better. So that was fun.
So what are we talking about?
We're going to talk about skis, man. I mean, it's end of the season here for us as far as ski testing goes, and we got through a ton of stuff this year. And what we were obviously need to cover, what we tested, what we like, what we maybe don't like, what's skiing well, what's going to check out at retail, and kind of go from there.
How many test days do you think we got this year, Matt? Like official test days?
We were just tallying that up earlier today. Actually, we're somewhere around 30. Crazy enough, we hit, I believe, don't hold me to this, but somewhere like 25 or 26 different resorts this season with staff.
Wow.
Going on test days.
Holy shit. That's really cool.
Some of a couple of those were staff going on, a trip, but pretty much everybody who goes on a trip here takes 2-3 pairs of test skis and comes back and talks about them and writes a review on them. So, but yeah, true brand days or, our Utah swing, which we'll talk about. We hit 5 different resorts in 5 days out there with 5 different brands, 6 different brands, which is sweet. So yeah, a lot of test days again this season. We definitely hit more resorts this year though, which is pretty cool to be able to test skis and boots and outerwear in multiple locations, conditions. Obviously we
We got the full spectrum of conditions this year.
Oh yeah.
Test day number 1 was pretty grim.
You guys,
I thought
you
that
guys
was
were-
going to be, this is what the rest of our season's going to be.
That was at Sugarbush, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was for the East Coast launch of the new Blizzard Rustlers. They had a launch out in Jackson that we couldn't attend, but that was like all time. And then the East Coast launch was, George and I rode up the lift, full dirt, raining, and we were just looking at each other like, this is going to be a bad year.
When was that?
First week of January, right after New Year's. Yep. But yeah, the skiing was still good. The skis were, we were lucky enough to have Rustlers all season long, starting, first week of January. And at least for me, those were standouts for sure.
So let's start there because I think we're all in agreement in this room and even at the whole company and
That the Rustlers absolutely fuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With socks on.
Yes. 100.
And ski boots on.
Both, all the Rustlers, 9, 10, 11, and of course the female version, the Sheevas as well. But from overall, I think from everything that we tested, from everyone that we've talked about internally, that's on everyone's top 5 list, if not the top ski.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whether you want to say 9, 10, or 11, depending on, where you want to ski or the style of skier that you are. But those particular skis are checking out. And from what I hear from other people outside of Ski Monster, they're not just checking out here, they're checking out everywhere.
Yeah.
So let's start with the Rustler and what we like about it and why.
So we did several days this year on current Rustler, the one that we're selling now, and next year's Rustler. And those are some of the more beneficial days that we do because you can really feel the nuanced differences between whatever. And what's amazing with the new Rustler is you still have all of the low-end accessibility that you had in the current Rustlers, but way more top-end, something that you can really step on, but it still pivots no problem.
Yeah.
So it's a massive improvement over the previous Rustler. Everything that people loved about how they could ski it at low speeds, lower angle slopes, still got that, but way more top-end.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite of, the bunch, I'm kind of in a narrow waisted skis at the moment, but I'm going Rustler 9.
Yeah.
That ski's great. And then also ski that side by side with my other favorites, the Ripstick 96 Black and
Declivity 92.
Declivity 92 and Serpo. And I wasn't thinking that I was going to be so impressed with the Rustler, just going off memory of the Serpo and declivity, but the Rustler hangs.
It does. I mean,
And you get more versatility in the Rustler than you have in a declivity.
yeah, I agree.
Like I like carving a bit more on a declivity.
Yep.
But the fact that the Rustler is that close and I can ski that thing anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I was just overall, and I know we're probably going to sound like a broken record, but I don't really care because it's worth talking about it. But like overall, just completely shocked on how well that ski skis.
Yeah.
Both the 9 and the 10. And I think, I agree with you. I think the 9 is great. I'm going to go 10 personally, maybe because I skied it more. I don't know. But I felt like I was on the 10 more often than I was on the 9. And for a ski, what is it? It was 104, 106 underfoot at the 10. 104, the new one's 104. For a ski that's like above 100 by a few millimeters, like it doesn't be skiing at Sunapee.
It doesn't ski like it's over 100.
No, and so from someone that's gonna be, talking to people face to face about this ski at 104 millimeters underfoot, like knowing that it can just literally ski anywhere as comfortably as it does without feeling it's like super demanding and it just hooks. I mean, it's really fun to think about that they made a ski in the low 100s that absolutely can ski everything, which is pretty rad. Obviously, to George's point, like the 9 is definitely more accessible to most for sure, but knowing how many days I have on that new 10, I wouldn't shy away from really selling it to anyone that can sell
Oh,
it.
no, definitely not. And I think that's, throughout between Rustler 9 and 10, both of those in comparison to current model, those are equally as accessible at low speeds, low angle, way more top end, and a ski you can tip up and absolutely shred on.
Yeah. And at Free Skier in Jackson in March, obviously we were spoiled with
blower.
Yeah, we were spoiled, but we also tested a bunch of skis in variable conditions and on groomers and whatnot. And I mean, the standout ski for me at Free Skier was the Rustler 11, which we didn't get a chance to ski on the East Coast for obvious reasons. We didn't have the snow, but I found it interesting all season long, from January right through April. No matter what we skied on, like I felt like it always got compared to a Rustler.
Yeah.
That was always part of the conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
And I will say about the 11, touch on what you just said. The first time that I didn't get to see it in person because I wasn't with you guys at Sugarbush, but I think I just saw it like digitally. I think it was the first time I saw it, and it was like, that Alpine yellow, I think they call it, or something like that. That Yeti yellow, which I have, which is sick.
Weird flex.
But seeing it in person was a lot cooler.
Yeah.
Is my point.
It's dope in person.
It's dope in person.
I was amazed at that.
Yeah, when Garrett was on that ski, and because I think you and I riding up the chair together in Jackson, and it was just like the lighting was good, the snow was like popping, and you're like, dude, that ski in the wild looks really, really cool compared to seeing it just on like a computer screen or something like that. So seeing it in person makes that 11, even to someone that's maybe kind of shying away from buying a ski that's that wide or big or whatever. When you see it, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I can get it.
I also felt like his ankles were really strong on that ski. Like when I watched you ski on that 11, I was like, man, you get strong ankles.
Yeah, I did. I did back then.
Yeah.
I have really strong.
So for those of you who are listening,
Shouldn't it be stronger now that you have some metal in there?
yeah, I mean, reinforcement.
our last day at Jackson for the free skier test, Garrett was a little upset that AP, launched into the stratosphere on day one, right?
He
Was it day
went
one?
effing huge.
AP went effing huge.
Yep.
And and Garrett all week was trying to, to get his air shot, and he got some great shots for sure, but it didn't pass it didn't pass the launch off test that AP got the first day. So at the very end, almost last run essentially.
Well, back it up. What did
his last
AP do that morning?
Called last day.
With a picture of Garrett.
Yeah.
What an idiot. So anyways, last day, last run, Garrett sees a pretty dope looking feature in the backcountry Jackson and decides to,
According to Matt.
and decides to basically.
Shots are great.
This is his moment. And,
That's what it's all about, right? That's all that matters.
and launched it, landed it, and you broke your what?
Talus. He broke
Talus.
his talus.
You broke his talus.
I don't think anybody knows about, but
And his
it's
ego.
an important bit.
No, that's still shining.
But what I will say from, a spectator, when it happened, I think, and I have the video and you can hear me being like, oof, in the video. I I was kind of nervous because we were not in the resort. And I was like, this could be really bad. You know, Garrett has to get back. And dude, like, I don't know if it was adrenaline or what the fuck, but you skied all the way back, dude, on one ski, dude.
Yeah, out of Rock Springs.
Out of Rock Springs.
I've been practicing that for a long time, just in case. Sometimes I'll just like throw up my legs, take a couple runs, one ski, just in case I'm ever legless out there in the woods.
It was impressive. Again, sorry that it happened to you, but this is day 2 without the boot and without the crutches, so you're back, dude. Joe, you heard our kind of take on the Rustler, so before we kind of move on to some other skis that I've been checking out. You're 9, 10, 11.
9.
Yeah.
All day. I'm relatively dependent on a ski that is easy to balance on. I'm not the strongest skier out there. And the current Rustler I really like, even though it's not as well-rounded as the new one that's coming out. The new one that's coming out is just, it's so much easier to feel where your weight is. And if you're kind of like me, which is not a profound skier, find myself in the back seat, I can feel myself in the back seat on the current Rustler 9, and like the ski doesn't want to respond. Where the new one that's coming out, it's easier, it's a little bit more forgiving, still at low speed, on low angle, and then it rewards you more when you do actually find the front of your boot. Matt will tell you I've never found the front of my boots, but that's neither here nor there. When I think I found the front of my boot, it rewards you so much more, and you just feel like a stronger skier than you actually are, and that's kind of what I rely on. So,
you know, another
awesome ski.
Another thing in the Rustler, like when you mentioned like the new ones feeling rounder, when we did that comparison of the current to next year's side by side, you can really feel how much almost like hingier or blockier the current Rustlers are. Yeah, like it feels almost like there's a door hinge point in front of the toe piece and behind the heel piece, and it almost kind of feels like they're broken comparatively.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's actually, I don't think I've heard you say that before. That now, like that term broken, when you do side by side, that actually exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
Especially when you get in like heavier snow, spring snow.
Yeah.
And you know, the current Rustler has that, you know, band of metal in the middle of the ski. It runs about halfway up the shovel, and that's where that like hinge comes from. Now the metal for next year's skis runs up the side
Entirety.
primarily, and all the way up to the tip and all the way back to the tail. So just like you said, a little bit more even flexing, rounder, more versatile, not feeling that, you know, that hinge point where if you're really on it and you're in the front of the ski and there's heavy snow, it can feel like it's broken or hinging.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd add about Rustler is like the Rustler 9 feels like the biggest improvement, then Rustler 10, and then Rustler 11 probably changed the least from current to
The
next
feel,
year's.
the way it feels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think the old Rustler 11 didn't need nearly as much as the 9. And Blizzard did a great job addressing all those problems.
Right.
They killed it.
I remember I was worried when you guys came back from Sugarbush because you were like, oh, like it rails turns. Like it feels like a little bit like a declivity or a serpo. And what I loved about the previous Rustler, the current generation, is how it's like pretty playful and feels kind of close to like a freestyle ski, but it has metal in it, so it can definitely provide that stability you need. But I don't think the new Rustlers sacrifice enough of that playfulness for it to be like, you know, lose that personality of the ski that I loved.
Yeah. It just feels a lot more gripped.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more gripped.
And dude, do you remember that day where we had Rustler 9s and 10s versus Ranger 90, 96, 102?
Yeah.
And how, like, I'm going to say, like, the Rangers felt, like, soggy.
Yeah, they felt like they wanted to give up
Yeah.
compared to a Rustler.
Yeah.
Compared to the 23, 24 Rustler, the Ranger 102s and 96s just lack substance.
Berkowitz's skin is crawling right now.
I know.
Not at all,
Should we
dude.
just
I
keep
had nothing
going?
to do with those.
But
Still
no,
great skis, just different.
You had said they felt soggy.
They felt soggy.
And they-
It
and
reminded me of, like, being a kid and he'd like, I was eating my wheat checks too slow.
Yeah. Which is funny
And,
too.
and when I had braces, so they definitely got stuck back there.
Felt like walking around in wet socks.
nope. Which is funny too, because we all, I think I could speak for everyone, we all generally like the Ranger series a lot.
Yep.
And then when you ski it next to 23, 24, Rustler 9 and 10, the Rustler is just objectively a better ski.
Well, it really makes the Rangers feel like soft snow skis.
Yeah.
By comparison.
And
I'm
I
saying the
think
102. It makes the 102
They're
feel,
less capable on hard. The Rangers
Yeah.
are less capable on hard snow than a Rustler.
And when you 100%. And to Joe's point, that you do, excuse me, that you ski a Rustler 10 and then a Ranger 102, like immediately after, it feels like it's a soft snow ski by comparison.
The only nice part about that is now, like, there's a ski that fits into a category that didn't really exist before, where, you know, we've kind of told this Ranger story as like, yeah, it can more than hold its own on a groomer. You'll be okay. And that's still true. But if we have that skier that wants like just a little bit more optimization for groomers, but doesn't want to sacrifice, you know, the ability to take it through the trees or bumps, the Rustler works. But then if you have that skier that is actually going to have a more playful style, spend or want to spend more time in the trees, it's easy to steer them away from the Rustler and then back to a Ranger. Everything has more of a home now, and they can live together, but each of the skis, you know, has its own segment that makes it easier for us to get people on skis that actually make sense for what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah. And like George says, I mean, those, I feel like, at least for our staff, those days, I mean, the brand only days are great, but I feel like the staff gets way more out of those days when we bring, you know, a category of skis, you know, like, hey, we're going to test 90 to 100 millimeter, 90 to 102, whatever it might be. You know, and then I feel like everybody's chatting on the chairlift with each other. Everybody's chatting afterwards when we're having a couple beers or whatever. Like just what you guys just said, like, holy crap, now I'm really noticing the difference when I got off that Rustler 9 onto a Ranger 96, whatever, onto a Declivity 92, what the nuances were between those. You know, and just like you said, Joe, all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is becoming more clear. The Declivity 92 guy is over here. The Ranger guy is here. Rustler guys here, and now I'm finding out those small nuances where we can line up a customer's priorities and really steer them in the right direction.
It's more defined,
Yeah.
which is great, especially when, you know, you're actually the one talking to the person and you can just describe that like as clear as you did. All right, so I want to, before we kind of talk about the Rustler the whole time, because we could, so let's just move on just a little bit, because I'm sure we'll come back to it when we start talking about our top tested. So before we kind of think about that, like what we've talked about internally a bunch is that there's not a ton of quote unquote new stuff coming out for next year. There's a lot of new
you're going to break the ski industry saying something like that. No one's ever actually said that out
There
loud.
is plenty new, but yeah, comparatively to some other years. Yeah.
There's not like a ton of new stuff. There's new graphics.
There's new graphics. Yeah.
Which is,
NGT.
I guess, new. Yeah. So yeah, we should probably figure out or at least go through what is new, you know? So you have the Rustler, which is new. We call it new, right? Not obviously there's lots of new graphics. So you have the Rustler.
Actually new.
Actually
new skis.
New skis.
We got Rustler, Sheeva.
Which is the female version of the Rustler.
Yep. Playmaker from Elan.
Milan,
Yep. Prime Time from Elan.
Prime Time from Elan.
We get some new Revolts from Volkl. We got a Revolt 96, 114.
So 2 new Revolts.
And a Blaze 114.
And a Blaze 114. Yep.
You don't have enough skis at 114.
ARV.
New ARVs.
Oh, yeah, ARV.
New ARWs.
Yep.
K2 Mindbender C skis are new.
Yep.
Solomon Echo. New touring ski.
QST Echo.
Solomon QST Echo, sorry.
Nordica Unleashed 114 is new. Another 114 that we need.
So again, but like
114 is the new 96.
So really, it's some new models that are put into lines that are already existing. But
Line has some new skis, right?
Chronics.
And Bacon's, I think, too.
So
Bacon.
I think, maybe, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
After bangs.
new.
No.
I was like, wow. Bringing it back.
Joe, one of your favorites this year, right, was the new Sender Free 110 from Rossi.
Yes.
That's brand new.
Yes. Definitely going to be in my top 35.
Bunch of new DPS, right, Eric?
Once you find the front of that boot, though,
Yeah, different. It comes to
it's
life.
going to move on.
Yeah.
It's a different experience.
And then head cores are new, or there's just like a new top sheet?
I think they got a top sheet update. The Oblivions are the new ones.
Okay.
Again,
Right,
a
Oblivion's new.
116, a 116
Yeah.
Oblivion and a 102, I believe.
All right. So back to my original point is that, okay, now that we kind of listed them, it sounds like there's a lot of new stuff, but there's really not that much stuff that's new. And if anything, they're more new models and already a line that exists at a particular company. So the one new one that is a new ski, new model line that we've talked about a little bit before, but I think we should talk about it because we've got a ton of test days on it, is the Playmaker series.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And that goes back more than a full year to prototype testing and
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a chance to do that stuff early. And if you guys have, Ben Fresco's been on here and talked about it. But it's a great ski, and obviously the name is super cool. But I think the most important thing about that ski is that they were missing a particular category in their line. Ripstick, we've talked about it. I'm sure we're going to talk about it a little bit more, but like, we all love that ski. Everyone seems to love that ski, but the Playmaker just kind of fills a different hole for them. It's a product,
Rounds out the collection.
Rounds out the collection, and it's a ski that like anyone could get on it and really have a good time. The 91 and the 101, and I know that Garrett skied on that a bunch this year. So I guess I could just ask you to start first, because I mean that's one of your top 10 skis, right?
Yeah. So I skied on it. I skied on the 91 and a 180 a few times, which is too short for me. Not to brag. And
Huge tibias.
So when you got the 188, you kind of felt at home.
yeah, no. So I was on the 91 and a 180 and loved it. Like I brought it out multiple times. Wouldn't usually do that with the ski blade, but no, I was really impressed with the 91. But we had a 180 101 here that I did not get on, but I was looking forward to that because that's my width. Like that 95 to 100 is my favorite width for a ski, and.
You did ski the 188 101 though in Jackson, yeah.
I patiently waited for it, and it was well worth the wait. It's an incredible ski. I got only one day on it, but it was fucking sick.
And so,
it's probably my favorite ski right now.
Right. Okay. So great. That's a great segue, because you were skiing on the bench at 100, 188, right?
Yep.
And so, which we can talk about, because that ski essentially until now with the Playmaker and now the new ARV 100 kind of had its own category, right?
Yeah.
Bench 100, it was kind of standalone. Jojo?
I mean, it really is standalone. And whatever brand just will like say that we compete against the Bent 100, I mean, they're going to help develop that whole category.
Yeah.
Because like even going back a bunch of years to, the Volkl Mantra, that created a category of skis. Mm-hmm. And then Blizzard had the brains with the Bonafide, like, this is our ski that is just like the Mantra, but from Blizzard. And then that's the most.
Then everybody, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even in like Ranger 102, Rustler 10, I mean, they're not talking really about competing against a Bent,
Right.
So if Elan does that with Playmaker,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Line brought the Chronic up to 101.
Mm-hmm.
It's Armada did it. Line did it.
Elan did it. Yeah. I mean, kudos to the bench Etler.
But
100,
but Line and Armada have to, tell a marketing story about how all mountain capable those skis are. Because the Bent 100 is a capable all mountain park ski. Right. The Playmaker, same thing.
Yeah.
And I think another thing about the Bent 100 and why they sold so many, or why people are buying them, is that similar to the Playmaker, when I said like anyone can ski on it, that Bent 100, I mean, for the most part, as long as you know how to ski, like you can get on that ski and have a great day. Like anyone can get on that ski and feel like they're having fun. Yeah. And I think obviously their sales are their sales because everyone else feels the same way. And so now you have a couple other brands that see this, they've basically market corrected themselves and said, holy shit, like look at how many bench 100s are out there.
Yeah.
We need to do something about this.
Tough ski to compete against.
Yeah.
You have full freestyle park rails, jumps capability without feeling like you're on a park ski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without feeling like it's not enough if you're bombing groomers or in the trees or looking for soft snow.
So how would you say the 188 Playmaker 101 compares to the 188 Bent 100?
It's really close. It is really close. I would say that the 188 Playmaker 101 feels a little bit better when you get it up on edge. It feels a little bit more stable, where the Bent, I mean, prior to getting on the Playmaker 101, the Bent was the most stable ski in that category. Well, category free, we were just talking about, that was kind of the only thing, but it felt, that's what was impressive about the Bent, is that it felt so stable in a carve. But the Playmaker 101,
it's something about, and I think that we commented on it to Fresco when we were skiing, protos at Ragged, about the Bent. I'm sorry, excuse me, about the Playmaker, and we said it feels like a soft snow playful ski until you get it up on edge angle, and then it like locks in. And these are like prototypes, and he was that's exactly what we're going for. And to your point, Gary, it does. Once you get it up a high edge angle, it doesn't feel like it has that playful tip and tail anymore.
Right, and like I think that's going to be a goofy thing for people when they get out on them and ski them, because it is incredibly playful at low edge angle or when you're running them flat. I mean, it is,
you can park it
one
anywhere.
of the more, exactly. But if you tip that thing up super high, which I think we got plenty of pictures of a bunch of skiers on, I mean, that thing holds, no problem.
Which it's almost, it doesn't really make sense when you think about how the ski feels, even if you're just like holding it or flexing it, or like what's the construction is described to you. You're like, okay, well, it shouldn't be able to do that, but it does.
Yeah, but it's like in other skis, it's more like linear. Like as you like, oh, I'm at low edge, you go, this is probably gonna like grip a little bit better. I mean, that's like, it's more of like an on-off switch.
Yeah, it's good.
Which makes a lot of sense for that ski.
So that's Slovenian magic.
Think it does make sense when you think about the construction. It's constructed the same way as the ripstick, but instead of 2 carbon rods, you have 1. That carbon rod is the difference between that ski and the Bent. The big difference. Yeah. Right?
I mean, that
adds beef, and doesn't it take away weight?
Well, you're not adding other materials to it.
Yeah.
You just have the carbon rod on the inside.
I could be wrong. All right.
but to further what you were saying, because we've talked about this before, is that we don't know what is in the Bent Chetler 100. Yeah. We don't know. I mean, they could tell you, but like when you ski that ski, you're like, I mean, there could be something else in here that
magic, dude.
It's not
magic.
It's not Austrian magic, Joe.
No, that's a good point, but I think it's also like, I go back to enforcers. Like how many brands chased enforcers for years and was like, what the heck? What's the magic sauce in here? No, I just think as far as the construction of the Bent goes, it's not anything crazy, and I think there's companies over the years that have like really chased crazy technology when all they had to do is build a
good ski.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
All right, so we're on the topic, so let's keep going, because the new ARV collection is pretty cool. We had the privilege of seeing it in Armada's headquarters in Park City, which was pretty rad. We got the whole line from Matt and Hans. And again, now that they're under the same umbrella as Atomic, they were pretty open about talking about like they're building the ski because of the Bent Chetler 100 to a certain degree. They see the Bent Chetler numbers. Yeah, and they're like, okay, well, like, I mean, we make a ski similar, but how come it's not acting the same way that Bent Chetler 100 is acting in the market? And it's what's really cool in the ARV ARW is that whole new sidewall deal that they came up with. So they have a mold, they inject their sidewalls there, so they're not dependent on that other supply chain issue. But instead of being a vertical piece, it's kind of like a wedge, a triangle. So when the press goes down, it ends up bonding stronger. I can't remember the percentage that it is more durable than the previous ones. But I mean, customer service, they don't warranty many Amer skis, Salomon Atomic, Armada. So if this is even stronger, like, oh my God. I mean, that's just a park kid's dream.
Yeah. I mean, that's a ski I would get to beat the shit out of in any ways with ARV's it's always been one of my favorite skis, and I was stoked when they were coming out with the 100. They don't hold up quite as well as the Playmaker or Bent on other parts of the mountain, but as far as a park freestyle ski, they get the job done perfectly. And like, if you like a more playful ski, they're just fine everywhere else.
It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, at ski retail. When you have someone like yourself or me or Joe or whoever, when someone walks up to the wall, it's like, hey, I've heard my buddy bought a Benchello 100 last year and he really likes it. Yeah. And it just depends on the person selling the ski. Well, they could easily buy the ARV 100 now that it exists, right? Right.
Yeah,
or the Playmaker 101 now that it exists. So now that these other skis that are really, really well built and ski really well are out there to compete with the Bent 100, it's gonna be kind of fun to see what people gravitate towards.
Yeah. And I mean, everything I've said in the last like 5 minutes has been Bent and Playmaker are my two favorites, and then ARV is right there, but not quite. It's not quite as like stable or anything like that outside of the park. But prior to working in the ski industry, if I'd come into a shop, I would have needed convincing to not go right towards the Armada and look into the Atomic or especially
as a freestyle.
Elan, I probably would not have even. I would have been like, "Shut the fuck up, you nerd."
Yeah, well, at the time,
yeah, and I think that'll probably take a couple of years for that to catch on. I mean, I think they've done a really good job launching the ski, marketing the ski. Obviously, we've been talking about it for a while as well, so it's not as much of an issue here for us. But I think brand-wise, that ski, it's gonna take a little bit to catch on because of just like what you said. That kid walking in who's buying an ARV or buying a Bent, it might take a little bit of convincing to talk him into the Elan. But once they get on it, it's lights out.
I'm making it my life's mission over the next couple of years to make that ski cool with all the park pull I have.
You just got to show all the Elan haters their song, and
I don't even know what song you're talking about. We should get Garrett's brother in here to talk about park skiing since he's the athlete in the family.
Yeah, that's a great idea. we should reach out. You think he'll do it? All right, so moving on. Another couple of skis that are surprising, that are new, that I didn't necessarily think I was going to like as much as I did was the Revolt series from Volkl. Revolt 96, Revolt 114. I skied them a bunch of times in Jackson and here at Sunapee. And again, similar. I know it sounds like like a similar way to describe it, but that Revolt 96, like for a lot of people, like that could be a really awesome, fun ski for most people that just want to go out and just kind of like have a versatile, easy skiing ski that they feel like they can take anywhere.
Yep.
And that 140,
except for where it's bulletproof.
Yes.
Except for where it's bulletproof.
I mean, it's a softer, playful ski. I mean, you like that person that's cruising around. I mean, it's easy at slow speeds. Mm-hmm. It's great for side hits, great for park, stuff like that. But I think just like what George said, I mean, when we tested that East Coast and West Coast on tons of different, conditions and terrain. And I think that was, and again, not its intended use, but at high speed on hard snow.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's the most one-dimensional ski in that category, compared to the Playmaker and the Bent and the ARV. Mm-hmm. You can tell the Revolt, you can ski it anywhere, but it wants to be in the park and it wants to be on soft snow.
Yeah, and for me, if you put a Nordica Unleashed 98 and a Revolt 96 next to each other, which we did, we skied side by side. I mean,
it's not comparable.
Night and day.
Yeah,
completely different.
Dude,
skis.
that's another ski that we didn't even make it into the conversation with, like Playmaker 101, Bent. I mean, Unleashed is close to that. It has more hard snow performance than any of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it does have a kicked up tail.
Yeah.
And where the Ranger 102 doesn't, Ranger 96 doesn't.
Yep. Yeah, and that again, I think going back to having the ability to test these skis so much and ski them side by side. I mean, that was a day where we had all those skis. It clarifies it a whole lot. Where just like you said, Joe, that person that's on the Revolt 96, out of all those, like I like the Playmaker, I like the Bent, all those skis, I can see the usage. But like Unleashed 98 for me is, I'll take that every single day in any condition over the other ones. Not that the other ones are bad skis, but for where my priorities are, and how big I am and how I ski, like it's Unleashed 98 every day.
I agree.
Pretty underrated ski.
I love that ski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a pair, like, because I'm like, this is a great go-to. It just lives in my truck.
Yeah.
I really like that.
You know, and that brings up a great point, because like as we've, you know, done all of this testing, and the more you test, the more you like truly understand that the performance and traits of skis are very objective. Your preferences are subjective. Like Garrett prefers the Bent 100 over the Maverick, Atomic Maverick, because it's more playful.
Right.
And mounted further forward, less directional. I prefer more directional skis that grip and rip.
Right.
Our preferences, easy. Those can be different, but we're able to make recommendations to people because the performance of them is actually objective. And I think the other thing in like ski testing that, you know, there are wrong answers.
Yeah.
Like your review of it. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Bent 100 does not grip better than the Maverick.
Yep.
Sorry, you're wrong.
Yep. Yeah. And I think there is, in what little, you know, endemic ski media is left, there's definitely a disconnect from what you said between objective and subjective. You know, everybody here likes a little bit different types of skis, but at the same time, you know, when we go out and ski these things back to back, it becomes very clear that, just like you said, one ski grips better than the other one. That's not a personal opinion. It's like, cool, this
Facts.
This ski has 2 sheets of metal in it, and this ski has no metal and maybe some foam. Like, that ski is not going to grip better. Even if you're a park skier, that ski doesn't grip better at a high speed on hard snow. I'm sorry.
No,
You know?
exactly.
It doesn't. So it's going to be interesting, again, because to what you're saying, to both of you guys' point, like what is left for ski media and how these buyer's guides come out and how these rankings come out and people reviewing them. Well, if there isn't that much stuff that's, you know, really that new, you have some new models that we just discussed and touched on, that when these buyer's guides come out, then the rankings and such should stay relatively the same.
If they're happy with what they did the previous year, which I would assume they should be since they hit publish on it.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, I thought this was a good idea.
Yeah.
Then no, it shouldn't, because our top tested skis aren't changing a lot.
No. I mean, I put mine down the other day and I was like, well, this isn't that much different. You know, you add in the Rustler and then you're like, okay, well, even the new stuff I tried, does it crack what was, you know, what's just coming out with new graphics for next year? No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the same rankings.
Yeah. Yeah. And Joe and I had that discussion because you know, obviously that's some of our top viewed content every single year is, you know, the blog post, what we talk about, some of the social posts, you know, what our top tested skis were. And obviously you want to refresh it, you know, and make it look shiny and new. But at the same time, Joe and I are talking about it, we're like, yeah, well, a lot of these skis in our top 5s didn't change other than a graphic. So like, just like you said, one of you guys said, Rustler's probably going to be in all of our top 5, probably Rustler and Sheeva for the women. So yeah, that might change, but for the most part, a lot of those top skis, at least for my top 5, you know,
same.
Yeah, 1 or 2 are going to change out. And in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, that looks kind of crappy, but really at the end of the day, no, that looks consistent. You know,
Yeah.
and
not only that too, and I'll speak, you know, just from my own, you know, bias, is that I want to go into the testing process and like I want it to change for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I want to get on something and be like, I want this to be my top ski, and then
But-
like you ski all this stuff and you're like, fuck, it's the same.
But if your priorities changed,
Yes.
well, then your list is going to change.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's something we, you know, list in that, you know, blog post, like who you are as a skier, what you prioritize, bang, this is the favorite stuff.
Yeah.
yep.
And I mean, I think that's really helpful for people. But the other thing, like when we're testing all these things and I'm on skis that I wouldn't necessarily prefer to be on all the time, like understanding where that ski could be positioned and who that might make sense for. So when I'm talking to whatever customer, this makes sense for you and your priorities, but it's priorities first. And then
Yeah.
you go from there.
Yeah. No, I mean, and when we were in Utah with Armada, you know, it's no secret, you know, declivities are very well liked here, and we all feel like they're underrated skis. You know, I don't think For a
Dude,
long,
is that the most underrated ski right now?
100%.
I think so.
100%.
I think so.
And it's such a bummer because it's
Underrated.
this was year 3.
Yep.
Yep.
Underhyped.
The industry wide underrated, and
It's every product manager's favorite ski.
yeah, from every brand.
Yeah.
You ask them, you having dinner or having a meeting, whatever, and you say, hey man, like, what do you like from outside of your brand? And every single one of them is like, that Declivity 92 is fucking sick.
Yeah.
And then when they
All
go to
of it.
rebuild whatever their 90 millimeter all mountain ski is, they're like, let's get on those declivities.
Yeah, they're like,
Figure
the
it out
Declivity
now.
is a benchmark for
sure.
what we're trying to figure out
Yep.
the following year.
Yep, for
and
sure.
The fact that it doesn't get nearly as much love as it should is kind of a bummer.
Well, I mean, I think it's exactly what Garrett just said. Walking into a shop, Garrett's a wannabe park skier. He walks into the shop and he's like, dude, I'm not considering Elan as a ski that I'm going to purchase. I'm buying a Armada. I'm buying a Forefront. I'm buying an Atomic, whatever it might be. But my personal opinion is I feel that's a little bit of the issue with the declivity skis. Like Armada is so well known in the freestyle, market. Like maybe some people are walking in not taking that ski seriously when that thing is, I mean, it's a staff favorite. It's an absolute machine. Again, depending on what your priorities are, it's not a soft, playful twin tip ski by any means.
No, it's not.
But the fact that you can compare, this is a shot at the Kendo, which is like one of the best selling skis probably of all time, in that category, is like you can ski a Kendo, right? Okay, ski the Kendo. We all know how it feels. It's cool. And you ski a declivity that's supposed to go up next to it, side by side, 9288 or whatever. It's so much better.
The declivity.
The declivity,
Yeah.
than the Kendo.
Yeah.
Like you can't even, and if someone wants to argue, okay, fine. Like to your point, everyone has a different feeling about ski, but like the reality
you
is,
could like skis that are dead.
yeah.
Yeah.
The reality is that that declivity is 92. I mean, is significantly more fun. It
Yeah.
feels better,
It initiates, has higher top end,
It's like,
is stable and is lighter.
and it's so
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
hard.
Daft Punk, I think, wrote a song about it.
and B2 up less. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, that's a ski that it's a super powerful ski, but at the same time, even on the low end, you can still get it up on edge and it still initiates a turn fairly easily for a ski with 2 sheets of metal. But, at the same time, you can ski it all day and not feel beat up. And I think at least for me, that I do get that feeling with some of those Volkl skis, and I know that that's part of their heritage and their DNA. But I think that pendulum is swinging a little bit the other way in the industry right now, where people want skis that are easier to ski. They still want the performance, but they want it to be easy, and they want to be able to ski on it all day and not feel beat up.
But from a salesman's perspective, I mean, myself or any other person that sells skis to people face to face, is that like it's still to this day, which it shouldn't be, but it's still hard or harder to convince someone to buy a Declivity 92 than it is to get them to buy a Kendo 88.
Well, and I think a huge piece of that is, not only is Armada known for, making park skis, they never built race skis. They never were in
Yeah.
the
There's no
World
race
Cup.
heritage.
Yep.
But the factory that builds all their stuff does have race heritage.
Right.
Yeah.
Atomic builds everything.
Yep.
So you trust Atomic, but oh no, because it has this Armada logo on it, you're not going to trust that.
Right. Yeah.
But if the Declivity 92 said Volkl Kendo on it, it would, or Nordica Enforcer,
God.
it'd be the best selling ski ever for years.
Yep.
No, you're right. It would be.
And going back to that point on the top 5 and how it isn't going to change much for a lot of us, at least. I remember being in Utah and both of us being on declivities and halfway down the run stopping and just looking at each other and be like, "Fuck, these are still so fucking good."
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Like
Only idiots ski on Armada, right?
No.
what?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Is that what your parents tell you?
That's what my dad says. My son skis on Armadas, and he's a fucking idiot.
It's a true story.
Talking about my brothers.
Oh god.
All right, so let's kind of go through our top 5s.
Oh Jesus! I
No,
wasn't prepared
yeah,
for
we're
that.
not prepared
I don't
for
know.
that.
No,
No, not
have that.
We don't have
spot.
to. No, we don't have to go like I'm saying, like in general, like what we are thinking that.
I think that's what we're doing right now.
All right, fine.
Yeah, I don't
All right,
think-
all right, then let me say this. Then I'll say a new ski that we didn't talk about that I'm like kind of like really stoked on. That it's kind of like a weird sleeper, dark horse kind of ski, especially for Ski Monster. Because
I don't know what he's gonna say.
Dude,
I'm
he's
so
all about that
nervous.
Rossi Forza.
No,
Stop.
no,
Dude, 70 degrees?
no.
You can't get a edge angle that high.
I can't.
69 is my max.
The
Nice.
All right, Eric, we're listening.
I'm nervous.
Stop talking, Garrett.
the Nordica Steadfast.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. That thing's-
Kind of a weird. It doesn't really fit into like kind of our mold here for the most part, on like what we would bring in to kind of get behind and sink our teeth into, but
crazy fun ski.
really dope ski.
Yeah, a little more obviously front side oriented ski. I mean, again, we were lucky enough to be able to test that ski in late prototype phase in Kitzsteinhorn in Austria when we took a trip over there. So, but yeah, I mean, that was the trip there. Essentially, I remember Corpy came down and asked one of you two guys, like, "Hey, what do you think?" And one of you was like, "Dude, this thing's done."
George said it.
Yeah, he's like, "This is done. Like, send it into production." And
Corby's like, "Yeah, I knew, yeah, I obviously knew that."
here we go again. We bring up Corpy during a podcast.
You brought it up.
God damn it.
You brought it up.
But anyway, no, I agree. I think they have so many skis right now that are probably going to overshadow that for a year or two. But I agree. I mean, we had a lot of good days on that ski.
Now, one cool thing with the Steadfast is they have that whole dual core deal.
Yeah, it's cool.
You know, where it's like wood core metal.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on that, it doesn't feel hingy like the current Rustlers do. When is it all of a sudden not current?
I mean, that's what's hard about doing these for us.
It's still current right now.
We got 3 years.
It's still.
We're talking 3 years of products, but
Okay, so
still current.
2023 Rustler feels hingy in comparison to new Rustler, which feels round, right?
Correct.
So like that hinge feel in the Rustler I was talking about earlier.
Yep.
You remember that?
yes.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. The Steadfast, it doesn't feel hingy, but you can kind of tell like where the platform is that you're supposed to be balancing on, that it's an easy ski to balance on. And if you get off, you know, like, oh, I'm supposed to be a little further forward. And I think it's going to be great for a lot of people to figure out how to just carve and take their skiing a little bit further.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how accessible it is for a ski with you know, a wood core ski with 2 sheets of metal. I mean, it's still, you know, an intermediate skier can still get on that and have a good time. But I think you make a really good point. Like, that's a great ski for somebody who's looking to progress a little bit, you know, especially on the front side terrain. I mean,
Very obvious where the sweet spot is.
Yep.
Because of that dual core.
I could ski that ski like here in New England, like at Sunapee or Killington or whatever the hell you are, just skiing groomers.
Yeah.
I could ski that every single day and be totally fucking stoked.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yep.
It's an awesome ski. I mean, graphically, it's pretty safe, so you can kind of see who they're kind of, you know, going after with the ski.
European driven, I think.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I can get over the graphic, but it's not something I would choose to ski on as far as how it looks aesthetically. But the skis itself, like ripping around, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Really fun.
Yep. Good choice on that one. That one actually surprised me.
Yeah.
That one was great. And then all right, I want to ask you guys this too, because if we're not doing top fives. Will the Ripstick Black 96, the ski that we've all loved so much and hyped up, is that ski gonna make every single person's top 5 again this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a benchmark. I mean, that was again. That's another thing for us that I feel like we mentioned a bunch of times throughout the season when we skied other skis, and then on those comparison days had the Ripstick Black there, and it was like, yeah. I mean, it still hangs for sure.
I kind of wanted to like other stuff more, just so
Me too.
stuff would change, and it didn't.
Me too. I purposely didn't ski on it for a while this year because I was like, I've had enough. Like, we've talked about it enough.
Why
We've
would you
sold enough of
torture
them.
yourself like
I'm
that?
like, I'm not gonna ski on it. Like, I'll ski on this other stuff.
Gives up light
It
years.
took it took a while, and then I finally got back onto it. I think it was just a random Sunapee day when we were doing like 90 to 100 or whatever, and it was like the first run, and it was maybe the second run because it was one that new that we mounted because the other test one had so many days on it. It was completely fucking beat. So we like grabbed a new one, mounted it. And I think I might have been the first person on it or the second one on it, whatever. And I was like, oh my dude.
Yeah.
It's good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't want it to be as good again because I wanted to kind of mix it up like we just talked about. But and I know this sounds like we're just hyping the ski up, but it's still like a benchmark, all quote unquote all mountain ski and 96 millimeters of foot that it's just head and shoulders above a lot of the other skis on the market.
I mean, it's a benchmark for all the skis coming out for 24, 25.
It is. Yeah. It's very true.
Yep.
It's very true.
And another ski that doesn't feel like it's 96 underfoot. You know, when you're skiing it, it's just easy.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's a tough thing for people to get over. Like, it's not supposed to be hard.
Right.
Like, you take all these lessons, you maybe go to the gym, you're less hungover, you get better boots, you get clothing that feels and fits better to make things easier and more comfortable.
Right.
That, you know, you're not necessarily on a less than ski if it's easier.
Right.
It's supposed to be easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a huge issue overall, probably industry wide. And I think that's part of the reason why that pendulum has swung a little bit, you know, and of course it's probably going to swing back at some point, as the ski industry always does. But, you know, we were talking about skis that beat you up a little bit earlier. And again, I think there's nothing anymore to sitting on a chairlift with a guy that's like bragging about how stiff his skis are and, you know, how much he gets beat up by him. Like, dude, I feel like that's over, but I will give, I don't want to pick on Volkl, but what I will give them is they are one of the few brands left that have like brand allegiance. You know,
Yeah,
I
know one person that would want to sit on a chairlift and brag about how stiff their skis are. His name is Dave Brown. And he'd be stoked. He's probably listening to this, so he's going to be like, fuck yeah, dude. Marshalls. Okay.
Yeah.
It's honest.
Yeah. I can only ski 4 runs, but those 4 runs,
dude,
I'll beat you down.
Couldn't turn, but man.
No, it's not. But I mean, I think that's the same problem. And we didn't talk about, you know, this new ski brand, which we almost never have happen, but Peak Skis. Mm-hmm. I mean, same problem.
Right.
Sure. I guess we bought those buy one, get one. So technically got them for like $500 each. But
they were handcrafting them, which is why they took so long for them to get here, right?
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah.
Technically $250 a ski.
So just say it.
So I see the deal on Twitter. Like, you know what? We need these skis anyway. We need to know how they ski in case anyone asks. Perfect.
Peak skis.
I was going to buy them anyway, full price. I have a promo code for buy one, get one. Awesome. So order those skis. They took like 5 weeks to arrive. Because, you know, they needed to be inspected in Montana or something ridiculous. After we had watched them be inspected in Slovenia where they're made. So, and like that's not a ski. Look on the ski, it says made in Slovenia. Elan builds them. Elan builds some of the best stuff. It's an amazing factory. But get the skis and was fully expecting those, like already had it made up in my head, like these are going to be sicker than a Serpo. And it sucks that we can't sell them because Elan killed it with a Serpo Injustice, like we were just talking about. So what did they do for this previous ski racer who goes by the name of Bodie Miller? Mm-hmm. You know, what did he ask for? And then ski him at Stowe. And I'm like, man, this isn't as exciting or as, you know, performance driven as I thought it was going to be. What it reminded me way more of is the Stokely Storm Riders, which I really feel like was the benchmark for them. And now thinking about it in hindsight, like a person buying a ski with Bodie's name on it, you know, probably wants something that skis like a Storm Rider.
Yeah.
And, you know, Stokely definitely makes some skis that absolutely shred. You know, very performance driven, grip, can arc. The Storm Rider isn't that. And I mean, we experienced that the first time we tested on that, whenever that was.
Yeah.
And we got on and we're like, yo, what the fuck? What the fuck were we thinking?
Yep. Yeah. And that's interesting though. So I think, and I remember having this conversation with you, and that's a really important reason why we also test gear that we don't sell here, because people still ask about it. And I think Peak, launching a new ski brand is a big thing and really hard to do in this industry. Obviously, with Bodhi's name attached to it, I think majority of people had an idea in their head of how these skis were going to ski. And, we all talked about it internally here, and we're like, dude, these things are going to be fucking burly. Mm-hmm. They're going to be, you think what Bodhi's background is.
Judging a book by its cover
100%.
is so crazy.
Yeah, 100%. So I think all of us, when we first got on, 88, 98, were a little bit deflated, only because at least in the back of my head, I was like, oh my God, this thing is going to ski like, a laser ARAX, a Curve GT type of, really high performance kind of front side oriented ski. And it didn't. Not saying it's a bad ski, because they're good skis. And I think
Storm Rider's a good ski.
Yeah. And I think they actually did a smarter job and hit the meat of the market, making the ski a little bit softer, more approachable. But in the back of my head, I was a little bit disappointed, because I was thinking and maybe hoping that it was a little bit more, burly.
I was thinking the same thing. I got on it right after I was skiing on a kendo.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Woo.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little different.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is way different. I went into like the second turn, like on the peak, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. These bend.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got a dope ass photo that day though. So.
Yeah.
The best peak, though, I think, of the collection, the one that they did the best job building, is the Peak 104.
100%.
They absolutely nailed that shape they killed. And it'd be really interesting, like, if Elan's proprietary technology, like, just went into that, like, oh, let's just make one for fun. Like, let's see what this thing can really do.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yep. Yeah, that was interesting. So you had bought 88, 98. We skied that all over the East Coast. And then obviously we went out west for the Free Skier Magazine test. They had Peak was there. So we skied everything from them out there. And
including the SCs.
Including the SCs, right.
The 98 SC, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, and those are the lighter weight, a little more touring oriented, which I'm not sure.
I did not like that.
I'm not sure those should have been in my opinion, those should have been part of the backcountry test, and they should have just kept the SCs out of the primary test. But here nor there. But
why would you think that? It has Bodhi's name on it. He's a ski racer.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true. But it was very interesting how all of us that got on the 104 were like immediately like, this is the best shape and flex profile out of all the skis we've skied. It felt significantly different and better than the rest of them.
Yep.
So. But yeah, again, great skis, not available for us to sell, but I would say between posting content and testing Peak and J skis this year, and people.
Oh yeah, we skied J.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
People seeing that content, like the amount of DMs that we got in relation to those two brands was insane. And of course they're like, oh my God, you're going to be selling those? You're going to be selling those?
Yeah.
And then it turned into, as they saw us testing them more and more and against competitors, just like you said, that day you skied kendos and then the 88s, immediately people are like, okay, I've owned kendos for 7 years. How does that compare to that?
It doesn't.
Well, it does. Again, it comes down to where your priorities lie. But you're right. As far as, skiability goes, they're night and day. But yeah, good segue to we had an incredible day with Jason Leventhal up at Stowe this year. Actually, one of the few pretty good snow and weather days. Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw the sun at Stowe that day,
which
we got a patch when we left.
And we skied some powder. We skied in the trees. Mm-hmm. We skied some hard snow. We saw the sun for a little bit. Then it turned into your normal New England day. But that was just a very high energy day. Every day with Jay is pretty high energy, but it was a super fun day. Mm-hmm. And again, I think we see a lot of Jay skis come through the shop to get mounted. And I think we've all skied. You guys skied Jay's back when you were Powder Magazine testers, and we skied him at Free Skier and stuff. But he's really good at changing and developing skis pretty quickly as well. So I think we all had certain ideas in the back of our head, and we were very pleasantly surprised.
It was funny when we get there and he had some stuff set up, and we walked up, and the first thing he said, he's like, I can't fucking believe doing a demo for a dealer.
Yeah. I haven't done this in 10 years. What am I doing?
What am I doing? We're like, no,
Yeah.
no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're just here. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna ski some skis. We're gonna have some beers, and we're gonna go home. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't believe I'm doing a demo for a fucking dealer.
So after that day with Jay, though, we got pizza at Picasso or whatever for a late lunch.
Yep.
And then headed to Sugarbush and skied with Salomon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Stance is new for next year. That's a new construction.
right.
And much
Yeah.
improved.
Yes,
Much improved.
We forgot about that. Yeah, Stance is much improved.
Yeah. I mean, I never really complained about the current Stance. That wasn't an issue for me. As far as like turn initiation and being accessible at lower speeds. But the new ski is significantly better at that. And there's nothing wrong with being better at those things.
Yeah. And I felt that obviously we skied those on the East Coast, and we were lucky enough to ski those at Alta. We got early ups at Alta, Bluebird Day, just amazing groomed terrain where like
was so sick.
It was so sick. It felt
I can't believe they let us up because we weren't with anybody.
Dude, didn't you post a photo of Lauren today?
today.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that was
I think she was like wearing a
Shout out to
Salomon
Lauren
jacket.
Samuels.
yeah.
What's up, Lauren?
She also couldn't believe that they let us up there early ups unsupervised.
Yeah.
Which was great. But yeah, going back to the Stance, I think, again, I'm like you, George. I didn't necessarily have a problem with the Stance 96. It's a powerful ski. It's, I can see where some people would have a problem initiating a turn on it. Never found the speed limit on that ski. I mean, it's legit. But I think they improved it definitely on the low end and didn't give up anything on the top end performance wise. So
Yeah, I don't feel like I maxed out that ski. And that day, especially at Alta, you can get skis absolutely cooking.
yeah. Yep. So
And to give it context, like we're skiing Alta groomers before the lifts are open. There's no person you need to avoid.
Right.
So it's absolute, it's completely pinned.
It's
Yeah.
sick.
yeah, on
It's like fake-
perfect groomers.
Yeah, it's fake life shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's blue. There's
Yep.
no one else there.
Well, it's kind of like the Yellowstone Club vibe, except at Alta.
except at Alta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's I almost we've done it twice now, and both times like when we're doing it, I'm like, I don't even believe we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so crazy.
But that's good.
Thanks, Joe Johnson, Lauren, and Dakota for hooking it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And McKieran.
And
McKieran as well. So
The world's best backward skier.
yeah, dude.
McKieran.
Yeah. Flies. But I think that's another ski that probably gets that whole category gets kind of overshadowed by QST. That's kind of where I feel like their bread and butter is, and definitely where their marketing machine is behind is QST. And obviously they've got that new Echo ski, which we can talk about as well. But they really didn't have anything prior to Stance, like in that all mountain category, like 86 to 100. So when they came out with Stance, I think it was just a little bit too powerful for a lot of the skiers out there. So I think after 2 years, they made a construction change, which is fairly rare. I mean, typically you'll do a graphic change. Maybe the skis will run 4 years before they get a construction change. So kudos to those guys for taking market feedback and saying, okay, we probably overbuilt this a little bit. Like, let's, I hate to say take something out of it, but let's make it a little bit more accessible for more people.
And it still has a home against QST. Like there's no overlap.
No, not at all.
And, QST is they're great skis, but they are, as you've heard in this podcast, we spend so much time skiing on everything. I mean, they are more soft snow oriented, all mountain skis and everything. That's where they fall in that end of the spectrum.
Yep, for sure.
And, when we were, at Alta, you're skiing on, when you end up on a groomer on a QST, the snow is dry, it's grippy, awesome. And, the gang of us here looking at each other like, man, did I maybe have this wrong? Maybe this is gripping better than I thought.
Yeah.
Shoot, maybe we got to reevaluate.
How's the tune? What? Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then, you get back to the East Coast, and when it gets scratchy and it's more bulletproof, the stuff that we have more often here, that's when that ski starts to struggle a bit more.
Yeah.
But if you're a skier that is, I want all mountain performance, I ski all over the place, but like my priorities are soft snow, off trail trees, QST is going to be freaking awesome.
Awesome.
Combination. One thing that we've talked about on a few chairlift rides is how deadly the QST could actually be if they brought that ski to do some more East Coast validation.
Yep.
If they made that ski just perform a little bit better on harder snow and have more hard snow performance, ski of the year. It'd be lights out.
It would be a ripstick.
It'd be a ripstick.
It would be a ripstick.
Yeah.
But it would say Solon on it.
Yep.
So they'd sell more.
Yep. And that's, I mean, it's a whole other podcast for sure. But I think what we talk about often is, I mean, George, you made a great point about how, the snow's drier, the snow's grippier. Obviously there was a whole lot more of it, especially in Utah this year versus the conditions here. How tunes affect that, and I think, we're lucky enough here to be supplied with a lot of skis to use for the entire season. So obviously those factory tunes or maybe a rep tune or some other dealer that tuned a rep skis, that eventually goes away and it goes through our shop and everything gets the same tune if it's in the same category. So we're really lucky to be able to experience that. But then when you go out west and then you go to a magazine ski test or wherever, you never know who has tuned the skis, if they're waxed, if, they might be somebody with a race background. They tune a ski a little bit more aggressively on the side than, factory does.
What skis were we on at Jackson Hole that were overtuned?
Oh my God.
A lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them. I'm not going to call out any names, but I will commend the guys that, you're not allowed to say too much, but I think we got on a couple skis early in the morning and came back and just told the either the reps, the marketing people, whoever's there from the brands, like, these are too tight, and for the most part, those.
Can you just explain to listeners what too tight means? Too tight of a tune, what that feels like?
Yeah, I mean, it can feel like you're on rails. I mean, it can feel like when you tip the ski up, it's just either running straight or it can feel really, really catchy, so you go to nervous and catchy where you go to tip it up and it just immediately hooks and runs across the hill and you're like, holy crap, we're in soft snow. And I think, not knowing conditions, is tough if maybe they were at a previous ski test as well and they had tuned for those conditions. But yeah, when you get a ski that's over-tuned in soft snow, it's a bad time. I think a lot of people know what a dull ski feels like on hard snow. Mm-hmm. Obviously it's the complete opposite feeling, but it's just as nerve-wracking when you get on a ski that's too tight or over-tuned, has too much bevel, and you're on soft snow.
Yeah, I was on, I can't remember what ski it was, but in one of our backcountry laps at Jackson, I was on, it was way overtuned.
Yeah.
And I wasn't letting those skis leave the ground.
Yeah.
Because I was so nervous about what was going to happen.
That you're going to hook up and just get pulled. Yeah.
Day one, morning one, and we did that hike, and it was like perfect conditions. And the skis that I were on, like I just thought I forgot how to ski.
Yeah, and
I was
yeah, you had that fucking weird ass turn.
Yeah,
where you just like couldn't turn the other way.
Couldn't turn.
Well, and then
so then I switched.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, what skis were there?
I'm not gonna call it.
Yeah,
out.
it doesn't even matter.
But it was clearly a ski that I've skied on many times before.
Yeah.
So I know how the ski skis.
Yep.
And great, I'm not the best skier in the world, but like I can fucking turn. Yeah,
and it was.
And so you're like,
it was perfect soft snow.
Perfect soft snow.
Yeah.
And so
it was perfect.
It was crazy. And so I'm like, man, I'm skiing really poorly. I think I'm not going to blame the skis 100%. And then as we kind of kept getting down further and further, I'm like, there's something weird.
Oh, I remember because we switched.
And then
I was like,
I said to you towards the bottom, I was like, hey man, just can we switch just so I know like that my legs work? And you're like, yeah, sure. And we switched and like I got on what you were on. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, so there's something wrong. I mean, granted, I'm not just blaming the skis, but like there was definitely something that you're like, this is very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not that there's like a ton of consumer demos anywhere, but that's that's something that needs to be considered. And for the most part, it doesn't happen too often, but it's happened with staff even here before, I remember at Pico a couple years ago, actually it was with Kara, who's, a ex-US ski team racer, and she got on a certain set of skis and was like, oh my God, I hate these, and then did the same thing, switched and was like, oh, these things are railed. Like it's the tune. Mm-hmm. She got on them once we had a demo pair. They were tuned internally here. She skied them a couple of times and was like, this is a completely different ski.
Yeah.
Which it's not. It just came down to a tune that
tunes matter.
Yeah. So, and again, I think that's literally a whole podcast, and maybe we get somebody from Wintersteiger or Montana or somebody in here to talk about that as well. I think, but yeah, it's amazing how much a tune can make you feel like you can't ski, or feel like, hey, this is a bad ski.
Yeah,
And
at a test as big as, say, a buyer's guide test, like it can make or break someone's year if no one calls it out to the person that's there as the brand representative. Is hey man, like you got to, this is X, Y, and Z.
Or you just lack the awareness that this could be a problem.
Correct.
As a tester.
Yeah, or that too. Which
and then you're doing all your results off that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and again, I think that's just as important on the tester side. And again, George, you made a really great point that not all testers, not all skiers, I mean, even some of the best skiers out there can't necessarily recognize that, hey, this might be a bad tune, not a bad ski.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it doesn't happen too often, but I mean, we ran into it a couple times this year at a national, magazine testing. Granted, those reps or those manufacturers were great about, you walk up to them and say, hey, I think you might want to check the tune on this, and they'll go out and ski it, or even just feel it with their hands and be like, holy crap, this is way too tight, or this is way too sharp for this soft snow, and they make a correction. But there's definitely outliers, where maybe skis get dropped off by a brand and that nobody can stay there, coupled with a tester that doesn't know that it could be the tune. And yeah, that ski all of a sudden
right to the bottom of the list.
Right to the bottom of the list, But I do think that's more on the rare side of it. But yes, tunes matter.
Mm-hmm. They do. Well, we covered a lot. I'm a little disappointed you guys didn't want to, take a glimpse into your top fives. I know everyone's very secretive about the hair scheme. As soon as the email goes out, everyone's like, ooh, when am I going to disclose my top five? I got to get it. I'm going to hold it close to my heart before I let everyone else know.
Yeah.
So fine. We don't have to talk about it. We that was good. We covered a lot. We tested a lot, and we got to do boots too. With that, we'll do that another time.
We'll do a separate one, but yeah, a lot. I mean, quite a bit new in the boot category for next season, for the fall, for 23-24. So that'll be a separate one.
Yeah, separate one. For me, I'm just, the biggest thing is I'm interested to see. I'm always interested to see what happens with the buyer's guides, because it's always like fun to get it and to see what we bought, what tested well, what didn't. Especially knowing that we're part of one of those tests, it's interesting to see what other people feel like is skiing well. So this year in particular, there wasn't a lot of. We were there. There wasn't a lot of newer stuff there. It was a lot of the same stuff from the year before. Same thing at the other magazine test from what we heard through the grapevine. So,
well, dude, let's do another podcast once those have come out, and let's just go through the results.
Yeah.
And say what's right and wrong.
I hope nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
But if they say that a Bent 100 grips better and carves better than a Maverick 95, we're gonna call out shit like that.
Yeah.
Because it should be.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. I like that.
I think that, I mean, we'll keep it for that podcast because I think that's a great idea. But I think something that is missed and has been missed on those ski test sides that we do differently because they've missed it over the years is the comparison factor, and making it easy for the end consumer that might not know, or it might be a brand new ski, a Playmaker's a brand new ski, comparing that to a Bent and what we feel the differences are and who a Bent might be better for versus a Playmaker, I think is really important, and granted, they only have so much space, but, some of these are done pretty well where they're comparing maybe another ski in the same category, but I don't think a lot of them are doing that enough where it's actually helping the consumer.
Well, but part of the problem that they have, though, is they don't deal with the end consumer.
Right.
like we do.
There's a disconnect.
And like, I think what has driven me crazy about some of the buyer's guide stuff in the past is you're so zoomed in on this product, you don't realize that if you zoom out, you don't even have to zoom out that far, and you just shot yourself in the foot. And when we do all those comparison videos, I mean, we compare, 3-4 skis at a time, and then, there's however many videos.
Yep.
I mean, it's fucking hard to make sure that you don't, like, I need to say this correctly.
Yep.
Because there are wrong answers.
Yeah.
We don't want to be wrong. And, how do we make sure that if someone watched all 50 videos that we did, they know where everything is placed and how it makes sense?
Right. Yep. Yeah. And that goes right. I mean, literally full circle goes back to objective versus subjective,
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea when test results come out, and then we can talk about other stuff test related, as far as, and George and I have talked about it a little bit on Blister, but, probably will never change, but just how the test could be a little bit more fair, or the playing field could be evened between manufacturers. But again, I think that's a big part of why we do what we do. And then again, make sure that, like tune wise, everything goes through, downstairs here before we give it a fair shake and be like, oh, cool. We had a brand day. We left with 6 pairs of skis from Volkl or whoever. We're going to go out and ski them 10 more times probably, but we're going to make sure, that they go downstairs and everything gets tuned the same. So the Kendo has the same tune as the Ripstick 88, has the same tune as the Ranger 90, blah, 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 but yeah, I think that'll be,
it's the only fair,
it's
it's the fairest way to do it.
Yeah.
Which is the most important thing, because there's so many variables in from a tuning standpoint, sure, but also like snow, the day, like all of it. So to have everything at least be at like a baseline where then you can go and like, okay, we're going to ski them at all these different resorts, different conditions, different days, makes a big difference. And I think that's why, we all ultimately, we do talk internally, obviously, but I think we all end up with like the similar top 10-ish skis. And it's like, I think it's a testament to the fact that how much ski testing we're doing, how many different skis we're on, and what's actually really skiing well.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
All right, sweet. Joseph, final thoughts?
No, I mean, I just can't believe you gave up skiing the ripstick for a while. Still hung up on that. Caught me off
No
guard.
light beers,
no light
no
beers,
ripstick.
no
Yeah.
ripstick.
No smiles.
No more smiles,
No
no
more
more
smiles.
pasta. God.
All right. Coffee time.
Coffee time.
Coffee time.
All right, peace, y'all.
Peace.